Greetings and welcome to The Place to Be. And this is the place to be if you want to find out what's going on in our community, what volunteers are doing in our community, what agencies are doing in our community. You are here for our June edition of The Place to Be. I'm excited because this is our 10th show that we're taping. And it's a great opportunity for me and for you to learn more about Oshkosh and everything we offer, because it is the place to be. I do want to thank our sponsors who make this show possible, and that would be Father Carr's Place to Be. Our campus is a wonderful institution where we have a food pantry, we have a free clinic, we have a shelter, we have a community center, we have a place for volunteers to be and to do different things. And also then the Oshkosh Herald, which is a great community newspaper. You want to know what's going on in our community, Karen will let you know with the Oshkosh Herald. And then also our set design is by UBloom on Witzel. And it's June, and it's the time to go out and look for garden plants and unique plants. Go to UBloom. They have a wonderful garden center outside, and they can help you with your decisions, what looks good in this. And one thing that Brian also does with his garden containers, he uses unique containers. That one year, he used an old typewriter and put succulents and plants in it. It was really, really cool. So if you're looking for something different, go to Brian at UBloom. I wanted, in this first segment, I had some pictures that I wanted to talk about volunteers in general. Volunteers make our community what we are and what we have. They have so many different gifts and talents, ages from teenagers on up. A big thing now with volunteering is families. There is a group of volunteers at Father Carr's in our food pantry on Fridays doing a drive-through. But as you can see, a wide variety of volunteers there ready to help out. We also are blessed to have interns from UW Oshkosh who help out. There's another group. We're seeing a trend in volunteering, which is more young people volunteering together in groups, and also more families. So I really want to encourage you. I know it's the summer months now with June, and there's so much to do, but there's also so many places you can volunteer in our community and give back. And sometimes it could just be an hour, just going somewhere and doing something for an hour. But check it out. If you want to know if you have some gifts and talents that you want to use and you're not quite sure what fits, try volunteering on for size. Give me a call at 920-279-9873, or you can ask me at our website. I'll be glad to put you in the right direction of what place might be the best fit for you, whether it's Father Carr's, whether it's Ascension Mercy, or whether it's our next guest, which is the Oshkosh Area Community Food Pantry. So stay tuned. We're going to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with our guest, Ryan.
Dark. We can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for help with food, healthcare, and other resources.
211, how can I help you?
Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211, get connected, get help.
Welcome back to The Place to Be. I'm your host, John Neiman, Executive Director at Father Carr's Place to Be. I want to talk about our schedule. I want to talk about Oshkosh Media and the great group that it is, whether it's government TV or Life TV on Spectrum 2. That's where you can see our show. You also can go to their website and you can get the entire schedule of all the wonderful shows they have. But also, besides being on Spectrum 2, we're on Roku and Amazon. And if you go to YouTube, just put in Oshkosh Media, and all the shows will come up for you. I always joke, my kids always joke, because it always says, do you like the show or favorites? Please like the show so I can show my kids that you like my show. But I do the show because Oshkosh is my community. I'm born and raised here, and I love this community. So if you have any ideas of not-for-profits or volunteer groups that you think should be featured, give me a call. Our guest for this segment of the June show is Ryan Rasmussen. You're the Executive Director at the Oshkosh Area Community Food Pantry.
I am.
Hi, thank you for joining
Oh,
us.
thank you for having me. It's fantastic to be here. This is great.
Let's talk about, you have a great personality, so let's talk about what brings you to the food pantry.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I think it's important to say, like you, I am also born and raised Oshkosh. I have been here my whole life. I did spend a little time up in Green Bay, but came back pretty quickly.
Okay.
But I've been here my whole life. And so wanting to get into nonprofit work, and especially this type of nonprofit work, is something that's really always interested in me. I've always been passionate about it. And so I have a background in food and beverage, and hospitality, large-scale events. And so when the food pantry came knocking and there was an opportunity there, it was an opportunity that I had to take because it really brought a lot of my worlds together. So.
Right. And most people think that we're competitors.
Oh gosh, no.
Which we're not, and which I learned right away when I started, because there were so many different avenues at Father Carr's that I had to learn. And I went to the food pantry and I toured the food pantry and I met everybody and they were all so kind and helpful. We share volunteers. And I found out we're collaborators because you're on one side of town, we're on the other side of town.
Yeah.
We share resources, we share volunteers,
Yeah.
we share overstock of food and things like that.
Absolutely, and I think the partnership is really, really great. And thanks for always being a great partner with us, even though I'm new.
Yeah.
But it really has been great. Like you said, we share a lot of the same resources, a lot of the same folks, and a lot of the same partnerships. I mean, some of the folks that we work with are the same folks that you work with.
Right.
And it's really about us coming together as a community to be able to tackle some of these issues that we still face.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that I'm envious of, I know I shouldn't be envious, is you have the old cop store.
Yeah, right.
So you are blessed with freezers and coolers and a lot of space, which you make very good use of.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who don't know, we're located in what currently is now the St. Vincent de Paul building at 2551 Jackson Street. But yes, it used to be the old Cops Food Store, and so we've got this fabulous, huge walk-in cooler, walk-in freezer. It just allows us to be able to have a ton of space and a lot of room to be able to do a lot of great things. As you're seeing on the slides right now, it's just our grocery store is very much a grocery store.
Right.
You know, we have folks that come to us that are able to shop our aisles just like they would any place else. And really, for us, it's about offering all of those different types of food items that you can get at any other grocery store in town.
So have you done, I know that the first time I love this wide shot too. This shows you U-Bloom and what you can get at U-Bloom. Besides the beautiful floral, you also can get art pieces like this. So again, U-Bloom, check them out. But when I first went to tour your place, there was a point system.
Yeah.
And I hate math. I shouldn't say that to my math teacher in grade school, Mr. Lippert. I'm sorry. I really don't hate math. It's just confusing.
Yeah.
And for me, that was confusing. But you've changed your system, right?
Yeah, we have. We've changed a few things. I've been in this role now starting in February, and actually in February, the team was working on creating a change, which, as you mentioned, we used to be a points-based system, which meant for any of our folks that were coming, depending on the total number of members in their household, we would assign a certain number of points that they would be able to use to shop in our store. So, for example, for a single household, it would be 25 points, and it would either be 30 or 35 going on up from there. But in February, we decided to make a change, which was to get rid of the point system and become an open shop just with some limits on some items. And so part of the reason we did that was not only for our guest experience, because what we were finding was that a lot of our guests, when they were coming through, were having to budget their points. And one of the saddest things that happened to us is when they were getting to our checkout area, if they were over their points, we had to tell them, okay, there's some things that you might have to put back. And that's a really, really tough thing to do. And so by taking away those barriers, we've now been able to create a space where we've changed our motto to take what you need and use what you take. And so it has become just this great new motto for us that for some of the items that folks were normally maybe having to put back on the shelves just because they didn't have the points for it, they're now able to take. The other piece that was really helpful for us with this was the fact that with our checkout operation, it was able to expedite that process a lot more. Much like you probably are used to, we're all about weights, right? So we have to weigh everything that comes in and also weigh everything that comes out. And so we've been able to speed up that process because we're having to spend less time checking carts to see what's actually in them and actually working through that process much quicker. So we are all about the dignity of the shopper by us. And so, you know, to be able to provide kind of an open shop and only have some limits on some of the items that we've always consistently had issues with. So for example, meat and produce are always our biggest challenges of items that it's either hard to find, or if we are paying for them, you know, they're pretty costly.
Yes.
And so we will have to limit those from time to time. But for a lot of the other items, the canned goods, the things that we know that we can get on a pretty regular basis, it's a no limit. Take what you need, use what you take.
Okay. So let's talk about your process then. So say somebody is in need, what do they do? How do they get started?
Yeah, really easy process. So right now we cover Southern Winnebago County. That's our service area. So when you think about Southern Winnebago County, you're talking Neenah, Menasha, down. We'll also serve the rural communities as well. So Winneconne, Omro, Berlin, some of those other folks, or some of those other places. But if you self-identify as somebody who's food insecure and is needing just a little bit of assistance, all you have to do is just come to the pantry. Your requirements for us are just to show proof of residency. That way you just prove that you live in Southern Winnebago County. And you can do that in a variety of ways. You can bring an ID if you have one, so a state ID card, driver's license. Otherwise, you could also bring a piece of mail that's got your name and your address on it. We try to keep that process very, very simple so that way folks who need that assistance can get to us relatively easy. From there, you can just come to the pantry. There are some questions that we'll ask you once we get to the pantry. And a lot of it is just demographic questions. We will ask, you know, how many folks are in your household, and, you know, making sure that we ask maybe some income levels. But it's important that we will never deny anybody based on any of that information. And the guest truly can opt to either say or not say whether they feel comfortable on giving us that information. We just use it for reporting purposes, so some of the folks that we work with and the partners that we work with require us to have some of that information on file so we can report out.
Which only makes sense to the donors or people who want to donate. They want to know, well, how many 70-year-olds and older, how many single female households, how many children, which is all important because it's going to help you get what you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
So once they get a membership card.
Yep, so we've got a little scan card that they'll get, and that card will be specific to them.
KMAX, because we have the same system through a grant through the community foundations. And where did we learn about KMAX, and where did we learn how to use it? Your staff. Your staff, we went and trained with them, so thank you for that.
Awesome, no problem. It's been a great system, and you know, it just captures a lot of great data and a lot of information for us, which is really, really useful. But yeah, once we assign that member a card, they're able to take that card with them, and that's really their check-in piece after that. So the first time is really the first time that you'll have to answer a lot of questions. Every time after that, we'll just verify to make sure that all of your information is still up to date. We'll scan your card in. From there, you're able to shop the store. And then we scan your card out, and we allocate how much weight in total pounds of food that you've taken in that shop.
So here on the screen are these volunteers unpacking?
Yeah, so actually this program is actually part of our school pantry program. So not only do we service our grocery store, but our school pantry program is also another initiative that we work with the Oshkosh Area School District with. Just recently in 2021, we increased the total number of schools that we help or that we participate with. So that went from 12 to 23. So there's 23 schools in town that we're working with. In this program, we will package and deliver these pre-made boxes of easy to serve and easy to eat snacks. So it could be granola bars, it could be fruit bars, could be fresh apples, fresh oranges. We've worked with all of these schools, their guidance counselors and their social workers that are in each of these locations, and they help identify the folks that need a little help or need some assistance. The school district already does a great job in providing breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a lot of these folks. But for us, it's a supplemental meal. These are the snacks that are during the day if you really just need that quick pick-me-up. Or also they're handing them to the students to take home on weekends as well. So these boxes are getting loaded up and going to be shipped to 23 schools in town.
That's really neat. And that's one thing, we do it on a much smaller scale because we have smaller schools near us.
Yeah.
And we just had people come in and say, can you adopt our school? And we do the same thing. And just to see the joy on the social workers' faces when they call you and say, you don't know what a difference this was or what a treat this was for someone, that's a great program.
Absolutely, and the stories are endless, right, when it comes to this type of work. And one of the stories that we always like to share that kind of breaks your heart but makes you feel really good about what we're doing. There was this student who, for the first time, had ever received an orange. They'd only had canned oranges before, or canned fruit before, and had never seen any fresh fruit. And so the first time the social worker gave the student the fresh orange, the student said, "That is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen in my life." And it just really it makes you appreciate everything that you do have, but then also really makes you appreciate the work that you're in and the help that you're able to provide.
Right. And one thing that you guys did when we toured, I'm sure you still do it, is you get a lot of unique items in that you try to make them go together. And I know that there was a chef at one time that was putting together these kits.
Yeah.
So people, because we're trying the same thing.
Sure.
But it's hard to break people of a habit when you have a box of green peppers sitting out and then you have some donuts next to it. And we're struggling. We're using university students and dietitians to help us give the information out, say, yeah, you can have the donut, but supplement with this.
Yeah.
But your kits were really cool because you had the recipe and all the instructions inside where people could have a meal.
Absolutely, yeah. And we're still doing that today.
Cool.
So we'll package items together and we'll make them all the ingredients that you'll need to be able to make a recipe. And we'll also provide the recipe card for you, so it's step-by-step instructions about what you need to put in when and where and how. And all of those items will all be packaged in an easy-to-serve takeaway meal kit. So that's a great piece. But on the educational side, I mean, those are some of the things that we're not only having to work more towards. Obviously when COVID hit, there was a lot of the programmatic pieces that we had to just take a little break on. And some of those nutritional pieces and educational programming is stuff that we did. Now we're going to be ramping up into that. We're going to hopefully bring some of that back. And we're going to partner with some other folks that do this for a living, right? And so let's let the experts help.
Right. Why reinvent the wheel?
Exactly.
Use them.
But from a very micro level, we also have what we call our Kids Pantry, which is located in the store as well. And the Kids Pantry is a great first stop. So much like if you were to go to Festival Foods, where they used to have the tot spots. I don't know if they still do or not, but they had the tot spot. But yeah, you can.
Our crew is so good. You mentioned something.
They are so good, right?
And they put it on.
Exactly. So on the back side of that Kids Corner wall is where we've got a place where kids young and old can come in. And what we'll do is take them on a short shop for themselves. So not only does it give their parent or their guardian or whoever they're with a little break to be able to go do their shopping, but we'll have a staff member or a volunteer that'll work with that kid. And we'll walk around and we will talk about the education on why it's important to have fruit and why it's important to have some grains. And all along the trail, they're able to pick their items as well as they go. And of course, we always end with some sort of physical activity. So whether that's jumping jacks or squats or something, really just to promote the exercise is a good thing. And then at the very, very end, of course, we've got a nice little treat for them. So you've got to have a little bad with the goods, right? So.
Exactly. I'm looking at that picture. Are those the hydroponics?
They are, yes.
Do you still do that?
We do, yes. We have a dedicated group of volunteers that come in and they handle that hydroponic machine. So we have 2 of them, as you can see. And in there, we're doing a variety of different things. So a variety of different lettuces. We're just trying out some basil, some thyme. Really just trying to grow a lot of those things in-house if we can. Those machines are great. We're able to, every about 2.5 weeks, we're able to get a yield out of them. So so we're harvesting, and those are going right into a package and going right into our shelves. We have a great joke in the pantry, which is, the hydroponic machines are great because it's the freshest produce you'll ever have, right? The problem with it is it still tastes like lettuce. So,
yeah, that's true.
But if you're a lettuce lover, it's the best lettuce
in the middle of the
had.
winter. Because I know that Zion's food pantry, the girl who did it was going to retire and be a full-time mother, and she loved doing that. And she was so worried. They were also worried that there'd be no one to take it over because in the winter when she would come in with that fresh lettuce and all that stuff, it was like, wow. Yeah. You could think of BLTs and all this other stuff that you would want to do. But I think that's a great, something great to offer and educational for school children who may be into that. I know my daughter was a teacher at Merrill, and she had that. She was a science teacher, and that was part of the thing too, to show hydroponics and all of that. And there you have it right in action, and that you go from growing it to eating it.
Yep, absolutely. It's a great program. People love it. It's a great showcase for us. It's a great thing to show that we're doing everything that we can to try to get food on shelves as well as working with all of our partners.
So. How often can someone come shop by you for food?
Yeah, so right now it's 2 shops a month. So each household or each person is designated a total number of shops. And so right now we're at 2 shops a month. We don't ever want to dip below that. There were some times when we did have to go down to 1 shop a month. That's just because of some of the food resourcing was a little tight. And there were some times where food was booming. It was really easy to get. And so we were able to go all the way up to 3 and 4. But 2 is our sweet spot. We have dedicated that we will not drop below 2. And so our goal, or at least the goal before I retire, is to make sure that we can do 31 days worth of shopping. But that will take a lot of time to get there.
Right.
So, and really it comes down to just that food resourcing and being able to find those foods, get them in the store, and then also having the help of volunteers or staff to get that food onto shelves.
Right. And when you think about it too, most people like to budget and plan out. They don't like to go to the store that often, because the more you go to the store and the more you buy stuff that you really don't need, which would be me. When you see it on special or in an aisle, you just got to have it.
Exactly.
So 2 times a month seems, pretty good, pretty reasonable.
Yeah, we find that to be a sweet spot right now. And we actually did do a survey with our guests that come to us, because we were toying with, well, is it more shops and then those guests will end up taking less, or what really is it what the guest wants? And actually what we found is that they preferred to be able to take more and shop less, which is part of the reason why we switched into that no-limit system and we got rid of the points, because really by listening to what our guests were looking for, we were able to say, okay, this is a change that's going to make sense.
Right.
I will say it was a interesting change. There was a lot of folks that said, are you going to make sure that you're going to have enough food to be able to do this? And what I can tell you is we do. Some of the same problems and some of the same challenges when it came to food resourcing before are still some of the same problems that we have today.
Right.
And so there was no change. The great piece is that we're putting out more food that folks were putting back on the shelves.
And that's good.
And for us, food in tummies is all that matters.
Right. And that's a good thing for people to have.
Absolutely.
So we discussed this before when we were at a meeting together. Are you finding that the numbers are going up now? Because for quite a while, our numbers of people coming in were lower.
Yeah.
And we all tried to figure out why. Was it because of the government surplus money that was given? Was it because food share was raised?
Yeah, exactly. And we are finding that the total number of folks that we're serving is going up.
Okay.
Since the start of 2022, and we track all of this data, but since the start of 2022, let me first give you 2021 numbers, 'cause that'll put it in a frame of reference for you. In a year, we'll serve about 15,000 households. And so that really equates to about 2,600 people that are coming through our store on a yearly basis or on a monthly basis. Already in 2022, we're seeing an increase of almost 27% based on last year. And that's both on guests coming in as well as total number of households that are shopping. Also, in addition to that, we're up about almost 70% in new registrants this year alone already compared to last year. And so those are some staggering numbers. And so it's a telling sign of some things that are still happening in this community. It's a good and bad, right? It's great news because we know folks know that we're a resource and they can come to us. But it also tells us that there are still issues out there that we have to hit and we've got to address.
Right.
You mentioned a couple of things. I mean, we're assuming right now food share seems as though the limits are going to be going away, and so folks that normally had qualified during COVID probably won't qualify, and so we'll see some increase in numbers there.
Right.
Inflation is through the roof. I think they just reported inflation's at 8.5% right now. And so to have those types of numbers and the cost of food in grocery stores going up the way that it is, I think we'll continue to see that trend of more folks needing assistance.
I agree. When I first started at Father Carr's 3 years ago, I started, COVID hit, and we would get calls from people. I'm a grandparent who had to take my grandchildren in, or I'm a parent who's taking my children in, or my husband just lost his job. What are the resources out there? And they were number one, they were embarrassed because they don't want to ask for help.
Yeah.
And number two, they don't want to take food away from someone else.
Yep.
And now when I go to the grocery store and I see the price of hamburger and the price of eggs,
Yeah.
I can see why we're in need
Yeah.
of people, and that we're making it accessible, and there is no shame.
Yeah.
And I can say it from your staff because I know your staff and volunteers and mine. You treat people with dignity and respect.
Absolutely.
You know, you offer them things, you can see them, and if they need something, you offer them something.
Yeah.
I think that's a positive thing to do.
Absolutely. And I think, to piggyback on that, food insecurity can be a lot of things, and so food insecurity could be folks that maybe are a little down on their luck and they need a little help. But food insecurity could also be, if you're a 2-income household and all of a sudden one of those incomes go away, you could find yourself to be in a food insecure situation.
Right.
We have another example of a person that comes to the pantry who is going through just an awful divorce, and all of the money right now that she's making from her job, she's got a great job, she's got great kids, great family, great vehicle, all of those things, but she's going through a nasty divorce. And so by sending all of her money to lawyer bills and all those other things, it puts her in a position where she has to choose between food and other things.
Right.
And so if we can be a resource to say, we've got you on the food, come on in, we'll take care of that burden for you, so that way you can focus your attention on other things.
Yep, and that's a great point that you made, because we don't know the people who are coming through what their stories are. We can look and judge by their vehicle, by how they dress and that, but we don't know their story. And I agree that we're there to assist and to help and to treat them in the best way possible. It's almost like Molly at the Day by Day, they call them guests.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's what you start from the beginning is how you go. And
Absolutely.
So I think that's great. I love the changes that are being made.
Yeah.
Especially the point system one. Thank you very much
Exactly.
for that one, because I brought that back and I kept thinking, and I would be like you two, thinking, how do I decide that this point is worth more?
Yep.
What do I need more? So I really love,
Yeah.
I do love that. I do love the collaboration. I really do, because if you guys have an abundance of something, you share it. We do the same thing.
Yep.
Or if we get treats from some from some places, we send them over, which I think is what makes this a wonderful community.
Absolutely.
We're down to our last minute. What do you want to? Something we didn't talk about. What do you want to stress?
Yeah, great. Some of the things that were coming up. First of all, come to the pantry. We're open to everybody. We're obviously always looking for volunteers. And so if there's ways that you want to give back, please come in, volunteer. I invite anybody from the community to come in, take a look, have a tour. I know I've been in the area since I was born. I didn't quite know all the ways with which the pantry worked and what we served. And so being able to be there now and share this story is really important. So come on in, take a tour, and have a look around and see what it is that we're doing. Of course, I have to do my board justice, so if anybody wants to donate money or food, we would graciously take that, because those are avenues that we're desperate in need for as well too. So.
Right, and and we're short of some things now, and I agree, that was a good plug. We couldn't make it without donations, our donors and our volunteers.
Absolutely.
And I really do like the fact that you're out there in the community and people know more about you now, instead of saying, oh, it's that store that's by St. Vincent de Paul.
Yes, absolutely. It's a big initiative that we're working on right now, increasing our marketing both in social media as well as getting our message out there.
Well, thank you, Ryan. This was very informative and
Thanks,
very
John.
nice, and I'm glad that you were on our show. I want to thank our audience for watching. Thank our sponsors again, U Bloom, Father Cars, and Oshkosh Herald. Thank you for watching this June edition of The Place to Be. Take care.